Okay, and there we are live. Good day and welcome back to another episode of the Air Force podcast. My name is Yaku and today we have Shanon Greef with us. Welcome, Shanon.
Thank you, Yaki.
Shanon, you're a herbalist and sell a lot of natural products, natural remedies. What got you interested in the first place to start with all of this?
The journey actually started many, many years ago. Firstly, when my kids were born, every time they had a bit of a snotty nose or something like that, and we went, so all he wanted to do was prescribe antibiotics. And I thought to myself, that cannot be healthy. How can you just keep the plaster on? There must be other ways of doing this. So I started to look into it and started with simple things like putting them on colloidal silver and produce for if their stomach wouldn't work, things like that. Very, very simple, mundane, basic remedy. But the more I started to look into it, the more it caught my shin. Then, when my youngest child was about 3 months old, I was diagnosed with cancer. And that was without any official testing. The doctor looked at, I had a black mark on my thumbnail, and he looked at it and said, "Oh my word, that's malignant melanoma. You have got 6 months to live." And I actually thought he was talking a lot of nonsense. So I went for a second opinion, and I didn't tell that doctor what the first one had said. And he said word for word, same thing. So I had to go to theatre, and I had to have a nail pulled, and I had to do a whole skin while I was in theatre to see if it was. And when they did the frozen section, and they were busy waiting for the pathologist to give the response, they were so convinced it was cancer that they had already drawn all where the lymph nodes were. They had put a block in my wrist to cut off my thumb if it was cancer, and were so adamant it was. And it fact that it wasn't. So had basically given me a death sentence without official diagnosis. And when I came out, they said to me, "Oh, you're so lucky. You were 98% guaranteed it was going to be you slipped it." But it was melanin, so it was the melanin colorant in the cell. So now it's been exposed to air. It's a 100% chance that it will be cancer if it grows back. It did grow back black. My nail grew back black. And I had to go through the same process again. By the third time, when they realized the third time it wasn't cancer, and I was tired of being told I'm going to die, I decided that that was it. I'm not going to trust anyone. I'm going to ask them and lots of questions and learn. And that's where my first started. And since then, I haven't been to a doctor. I don't think I have a actual file with anyone. Yeah, everything that started my system. That was my kickoff.
Okay, so you, what do you say about the traditional medical approach? And you say that you haven't really been to a doctor again. Is that because you do not trust them anymore, or what would you say is the actual reason? Do you think they misdiagnose too much, or what do you think is the biggest problem there?
I think it's kind of a combination of everything. You know, each person knows their own body. You should know your own body. No doctor can tell you how you are feeling inside. No one person can be 100%. So for me, it's all about, it's not that I don't trust doctors. I believe that there is a place for doctors in this world. And there is a place for some pharmaceutical drugs. I just think that there is too much of a blanket plaster kind of approach. So you have a headache, then that's it. You're suffering with migraines. Or sort that out. They don't look at the whole person, all the symptoms and their lifestyle and their family history properly. I mean, yes, then family questionnaires and say, oh, my family had ailments or whatever, but there's no proper in searching. So I think when it comes to doctor, like myself, if I've got the flu, I'm not going to go to a doctor and go get antibiotics because the antibiotics is not treating flu. It's treating the symptoms of flu. It's treating the bacteria of the flu. Where flu is actually a virus, and there is no medicine, pharmaceutical medicine, unless you're on antivirals that will treat the flu. So if you're going to treat the symptoms only, then you kind of just putting a plaster on them. Therefore, I will use natural products and I will boost my system naturally. But it's a lifestyle. It's not a magic book. It's not a once-off take and sorted. Herbalism is a long-term, deep-rooted sorting.
Okay, and then now it's split into two. You first say that you didn't that okay. Let's say go to the flu. What medicine would you recommend naturally that could help you fight flu or a disease similar?
So flu is a funny one because it's very common. It's actually a broad spectrum of a virus. So my flu and your flu will very, very slightly different from each other. But it almost sounds cliche. There is herbs that treat flu. So, for example, everyone will say, "Oh, go have a hot toddy, a ginger shot." They work. They are for real. Ginger is an anti-inflammatory, antibacterial. It's an antiviral. So ginger is really, really good thing to take for flu. So if you're starting to feel the flu coming on, to do a little shot of ginger, and cayenne, and lemon juice, basically gives your body a little bit of a powerhouse to boost the immunity to fight the virus in its place and give it strength to continue the fighting process against that virus. Okay, you can't, like again, put a blanket over everything. One of those you kind of can. There's a few herbs that will help. If you take echinacea, they just help boost your own body to fight it. It's your body that needs to fight that virus, not the medicine. So it's giving your body the tools to doing that.
Okay, and then you also say that it is not a once-off thing. It is a lifestyle. What do you mean with that?
So, okay, so for example, you take a pharmaceutical. The drug is normally very spread. They've taken a specific compound, a few compounds, and put it together to target a specific problem. With herbs, the plant is such a diverse being. There's so many hundreds of compounds that go into the plant to make it what it is. So when you um, take a headache tablet, for example, it'll hit that quite quickly, but once it's done, and then it goes away. If you take herbs, you start to get your body back in balance. You start on a small dosage and you slowly get up until your body's back in balance. Because if you're balanced, there can be nothing wrong with you. It's when you're out of balance that things go wrong, where you ailments and sicknesses and things like that. So by taking a long term, the herbs also have a longer term effect on your body. They root in properly all the little the components, the little compound, the phytonutrients, all of them work on a cellular level deep inside your system to help you. So if you every single day take health, for example, um, health boosts the energy levels. It's got 25% higher protein than beef. It's got 20 odd percent higher calcium than cow's milk, for example. So by taking that it's not a plaster, it's a long-term solution. So it's kind of how you need to change your life. It's getting rid of the chemicals and putting the good. That's what herb.
Okay. And then what do you use on a daily basis? It's obviously not a recommendation, but what do you use and on a daily basis? And what I cannot suggest anything to anybody, but yeah, tell me your story about that.
So when I started this process, I started to learn about, like I say, how many chemicals and things are in everything we use. So my
Mm.
daily routine is quite hectic because I now make my own soap because there's too many chemicals in soap. So I make my own face creams. I make my own talc and milk thistle and um, moringa oils just for daily boosters. I make little capsules with the essential oils of grapefruit, lemon, and peppermint to help with appetite controls and so that you don't eat certain things. So every single day, everything I do in my washing powder is stuff that I have made myself because even our water has got really heavy lead, heavy metals, and chlorine, chloride, everything. So every single thing we're putting into our body has got some chemical that's not supposed to be there. So my daily routine, simple as it sounds, I wash my face and I put my creams on, and that I have gone to the extreme of making it all myself, almost to a full self-sustainability kind of scenario. I don't want anything that's got too much chlorine in or um, with too much sugar in. There's every single thing you put into your body or on your body is absorbed at a cellular level. So I want to make sure that what I'm doing is doing the best for my long-term longevity of
Okay. And so you say you manufacture a lot of the things yourself. How do you get the material and how do you get the resources to do it? And with that, how do you get quality resources and how can you see which of those resources are quality and is not of such a good quality?
my. Okay, so that's quite a broad question. So basically, I grow a lot of my own herbs. Um, but I've also sourced a whole lot of herbs that you cannot get in South Africa that you need to bring in from overseas. For example, they don't grow here. So on the herb side, what I do then is I look for a supplier that grows the plant sustainability. So it's not like they're going into the and just foraging it. It's an actual farm. Um, then on that farm, they use pesticides because if they use pesticides, that's going in on the microscopic level in the farm. So I won't use that. So it needs to be on organic um, supply. Then also I look at things like where was it? If it was harvested wildly, where was it harvested? If it's harvested next roadside, then I know that there's all the toxins from the exhaust fumes and things in it. So a lot of that time I would then rather not do that and go and actually forage and harvest what I need. So, saying that, I sort of believe if you're going to harvest your the general rule is take take no more than 30% of what from the plant. I tend to prefer the 10% rule simply because I don't know who came before me and who's coming after me. So if we all take 30% of that one plant, it's going to be killed within 2 days. So there's many, many crossroads of that. I do know that the World Organization, World Health Organization, has got an advisory panel on traditional medicine. We received information from about 114 different countries who research and document and control over that. That is the document is called the Quality Control Methods for Herbal Materials. It was done in 1998 and it's continuously upgraded. But they research this and they check that everything is done sustainably and correctly. Also, another thing is if you're going to say chamomile flowers, for example, you need to make sure that you're harvesting that plant at the correct time, its season for the ailment. So yeah, it's pointless me going and harvesting chamomile flowers as they're busy developing because the plant has pushed up all those phytonutrients and things that it's needed in that flower for our benefit. So the best would be to get at full bloom after the pollinators have come in, because then you're getting all the benefits from not only the flower but the pollinators themselves, what they're putting into it. So there's a whole lot of things, plant to plant, that do vary on that.
Okay, and you were talking about the chamomile tea now. A thing that's really into the news and really everywhere actually these days is kombucha. I don't know if I'm saying it correctly, but it is like also like a tea. And what is that exactly?
Kombucha, yeah. Kombucha is basically a natural fermented tea. So, yes, it is a tea. It's been allowed to go through the fermentation process so that there's a bit of yeast and bacteria in it. It's a really, really good system because a lot of, again, antibiotics people take, they don't realize when you take an antibiotic, it literally kills the good and the bad that's in your digestive system. So what kombucha and things like sauerkraut and your pickled veggies and things like that, they all do a natural fermentation which promotes the bacteria in your digestive system. And it actually, if you have a healthy gut, you have a healthy body. So it actually helps you generally to do it. So kombucha is a brilliant thing. If you drink little tots of kombucha every single morning, you're just promoting good bacterial health in your digestive system. It's brilliant for you.
Okay. And then as well, you mentioned you make your own soap and you actually make a lot of the products of your everyday use yourself. Uh, how do you get the time to do it
Good.
and how do you do it?
Okay, so that's uh, I somehow, I don't know how, I manufacture 300 hours in my day every day. I don't know how. I think I'm ADHD. I self-diagnosed myself ADHD. I do things on super speed. So I literally will do my normal work stuff in the morning. Will be finished everything, all the paper, all the emails, everything by 9 o'clock. And then I'll start looking for stuff to do. So that in those times is when I will go harvest a whole lot of herbs and then put it in the dehydrator. Then I will go and start rendering down my beef fats so that I can have the tallow for making soap. And then while that is going, I will go and start making capsules for a client because a lot of my stuff I make specifically for people. I don't have like a whole shelf of ready-made sort of treatments. I make specific clients' needs. So I literally kind of overlap everything, and and then normally by about 2:30, then I'll get supper started. That sounds crazy. I'll get supper started, and while that's going, I'll carry on. I don't know how I do so many things in such a short of a day, but I somehow manage.
Okay, so Sharon, you say that you're making your own soap. How do you manufacture it and how do you manufacture actually all of the products that you use yourself?
So basically, what I do with the soap, for example, I render down beef fat. I don't want the beef fat to be brownish in color, so I do it on a very slow heat and I take it down so that all the muscle meat and impurities basically they don't burn, they just drop to the bottom, and then the fat is beautiful white color, and strain it so that I have a pure fat. Then what I do is I use lye. Now, lye can be either bought as a chemical from a soap shop, or alternatively, we can do it as the good old fashioned traditional way is take um, water from wood. So basically, what you do is you make a fire. You get a nice hot fire. You do not use charcoal. You only use proper real wood. And when it's cooled down and you have that white ash that is left, if you put that into a bucket and you put water with it, and then you let the sediments um, drop to the bottom, and you have that like almost multicolored water, then you would use that. And then you cook the beef fat and the lime together. And by doing that, there is a bit of a process. It's not as simple as I'm making it out to be, but you have the correct mixed ratio of fat to lye water. Then when you cook it together, um, what happens is the lye makes the fat turn into a soapification chemical process that happens naturally, which makes fat then be able to soap up and lather. Um, to that, once that is done, then I'll add my essential oils or my dried herbs or coffee grinds or whatever specifically I'm making that soap for. So I can either have it neutral, natural, with nothing in it, or if I want something that's in propellant, I'll put citronella with it. If I want something for my face, for a little bit of um, cleansing and tightening of the skin cells and things, I would put a little bit of like chamomile and witch hazel with it. So there's many different things that I can do with it, but it's a lot of fun to manufacture your own stuff and see the quality that comes through.
Okay, yes. And how do you stay up to date with everything? Because there's constantly new stuff coming out and new, I would say, research that shows that this is beneficial and another thing is more beneficial. So how do you stay up to date to what is the best products and what is the best for you then?
So the whole thing with that is to have your finger on the pulse. I'm Lily, connected to the American Guild of Herbalists. I am part of the South African Traditional Healers Association. I follow a lot of herbalists from all over the country and the world. But something that, for example, works in Canada, they won't know about some of our local herbs. For example, nobody knows about cancer bush, which is Sutherlandia, or Artemisia afra, which is African wormwood. So I keep in contact with a lot of the local, I almost say sangomas, but not always necessarily sangomas. The local information is very important. So it's really about throwing a wide net and keeping track and learning and listening continuously. I think I will never know everything, so I need to have a whole lot of people that I rely on for questions if I
Okay, and then what is there any new products that is coming to the market? Any upcoming products that you know of, or things that is I don't know if they go through a testing phase or something like that. Is there anything that you know of?
so when it comes to herbs, the most traditional stuff is normally the best, which is been tested over hundreds and hundreds of years, and some of the herbs thousands of years. So we say new products. There's always where they mix and match things, or where, for example, now it's actually we've got to check that who it was. I think it's the is it? I've got it here. Hold on a second. It's the um, South African, right, the African Center for Disease Control and Prevention. They are working at the moment in collaboration with the World Health Organization, because when COVID-19 hit, there was a whole big thing about Artemisia afra being a cure-all for COVID, and the Western doctors had a freak out about it because they said there's no scientific proof. And basically, what's happened is I'm excited about this because they actually are researching a whole lot of our traditional local herbs, and Artemisia afra is one of them. And it's one of them that I use for clients with bronchitis and lung ailments, intestinal worms, things like that. So the fact that they are researching this, um, and are willing to validate it is, phenomenal. I can't wait for the truth of what traditional people and indigenous people have known for thousands of years is that herbs and this specific herb will help when it comes to those kind of ailments.
Okay. And then what is common misconceptions about natural healing that you would like to clarify and maybe rectify?
Okay, so one of the main misconceptions of herbalism is is that herbs don't work, only pharmaceutical medicine works. But what people continually forget is that you wouldn't have most of your Western pharmaceutical medicine if you didn't have plants in the flesh. So for thousands of years, we didn't have pharmaceutical companies making a pill to swallow. So the misconception that a herb is new age and is not as good as pharmaceutication is a big problem. So that is one of the things that needs to be clarified. Um, Herbs are not magic pills, but then again, neither is the pharmaceutical. So you need to look at the whole thing and work for yourself which one suits you better. Sometimes combined works better, sometimes not. They can contradict each other. So the whole thing is a personal preference. Um, if you personally understand that herbs have got history thousands of years back, and the first man that chewed something or watched an animal eat something and tested it out has gone through trials, official trials of thousands of years of evolution, um, then why would we question that as being a new age idea?
Okay, yes, I understand. So it is obviously it was the first medicine that was ever used would be natural
Correct.
products. So, and is there any contraindications or stuff that maybe have a negative effect or anything like that out of the natural products that you use or that is available on the market? Do you know of any stuff like that or
Yes. So
contraindications?
okay. So this is where it becomes very, very important for the patient to be very clear and very informative about their conditions. Simply because, for example, if you have cancer and if you're going for cancer treatment and you're taking a like Glyvac for cancer, then you go to a herbalist and you don't tell him that you're on the specific tablet and you wanting something to help with your cancer. And the herbalist says, okay, you know what? St. John's wort is a really good product that we can use towards it, as well as a whole bunch of others. But what the herbalist now doesn't know is that you are on the medication and your cancer doctor, your oncologist, doesn't know that you've gone to a herbalist. So the herbalist now has put you on St. John's wort, which is a herb that will cleanse and excrete, get rid of toxins in your body. Okay, so the St. John's wort will flush out the Glyvac, and it's not going to have as much effective use with your body. So now suddenly oncologist is not understanding why your cancer is not reacting to the treatment, and it's because your herbs are actually kicking it out. So there is those kind of things. So herbs can also um, help or overactivate some pharmaceutical medications. So some of the herbs might land up taking them that you overdosing on your pharmaceutical medication because it's actually making your body so absorbative to that pharmaceutical medicine that instead of helping you, it's be overloading you. So that is a big thing. For example, if you have allergies or you or it's going for a operation, You don't tell the surgeon that you take African ginseng or bilberry in your tea every morning because that's a herb, right? Nobody thinks a herb will be a problem, but those herbs help you to thin your blood a little bit, so they can actually cause more a high risk of you bleeding during surgery. So it's very, very, very clear and very imperative that you are clear with your doctor, whether your herbalist or your practitioner. It doesn't matter which one. You need to make sure that you tell them, I'm allergic to aspirin, so they don't give you willow bark for a headache, because willow bark is exactly the same components as aspirin. So you've got to be clear. Herbs are not minuscule little things that affect you. They have a very big, very strong power that can work for you or against you if you are not very clear and obvious about
Okay. And Shannon, where can people get in contact with you, and how can they get some of your products and hear some of your stories and see what you're up to? Do you maybe have a website, or what
it.
is your
So I
Instagram,
have an
Facebook, and all
Instagram
that stuff?
profile which is Outdoor Women's 2022 Shannon's. Um, that Instagram profile has got a link to my little shop where I put products on every so often. Alternatively, I love to communicate on WhatsApp because that way I have a direct link to the client and I can talk to them that way. So you can always contact me on my cell phone on WhatsApp. I'm 24 hours, my phone is on. And if you have any questions on Instagram and all of that too, you're welcome to send it to me and I'll answer you. Like to make sure that there's an open flow of communication between client and possible future customers and even people who just want info. I put things on my Instagram continuously of plants, what their scientific name is, what they use for, etc. So my Instagram is my main go. And then that is also linked to Facebook, obviously, with that. So I use both.
Okay, thanks a lot. And uh, go and follow and like and subscribe this video, and go and follow Sharon as well on the Instagram page that you just provided. Thanks a lot for today, Sharon,
Thank
and
you.
we wish you all the best for the future.